Hello, class. This is Demetrius Wilson, and we're back with Chapter 3, which is speaking about family businesses. There's a close relationship between small businesses and family businesses. Typically, you can find a lot of small businesses that are family businesses, but they do want to tackle them separately in the chapters, and understandably why, because there are some different dynamics that come into play when you're referring to a family business as opposed to simply a small business. So we're going to get into that, talk to a few of the key points, talk through our Reading Rainbow section, which will be about Westbrook Lobster. These are all great examples. Talk a little bit about the tangibles in terms of family businesses, but also some of those intangibles, which are reasons why, some of the big reasons why those businesses succeed, and on the flip side, some of the reasons why those family businesses fail. So like I said, we'll start with talking about Westbrook Lobster, and this is in the textbook, but I like to go over it because it does, generate a lot of ideas for myself, from you as a class, and a lot of comments in regards to, how does it really work in real life, right? There are certain things that are in the textbook, but how does it work when you get out there in the real world? So in 1957, Westbrook Lobster opened in Westbrook, Connecticut, as a specialized lobster and fish market. As time went on, the company expanded to offer a comprehensive range of fish, right? So we started off doing this one thing, but as time went on, said, hey, you know what? We're just out here getting lobster, but we might as well get fish and shrimp and everything else. So a comprehensive range of fish, shrimp, and prepared foods. So in 1989, Larry, who grew up near the docks of New Bedford, Massachusetts, bought the business and had a dream of expanding the business with a seafood restaurant. So not only are they going to take the fish and sell them, but now we're going to have a restaurant. And there's a place out here that I go to all the time called Berth 55. If anybody here ever worked at the port or is familiar with that area over in Long Beach, it's great. But like it's an area where they all the fishermen come and they dock their boats. They get the fish. They also have a smaller restaurant where they sell the fish. And then if you just walk right outside, there's an eating area. And then there's also a bar where they're doing karaoke on the other side, where most of the fishermen go after they're gone, out to sea. Making their catch. So it's interesting how those things develop over time from a business sense. Um, so fast forward to 2004, Larry and his two sons, Michael, an environmental science major, and Matthew, a business major, open up their second restaurant in Wallingford, Connecticut. It overlooks the Quinnipiac River in a historic Yale Brothers mill built in the late 1670s. Originally a grain mill, later converted to a German and Britannia silver spoon factory, and finally converted into a restaurant. The building was rich with history, right? So a lot of things have obviously come out of that one location. Michael speaks easily about the value that Westbrook Lobster offers its customers: high quality food, great service, and visiting the tables while people are dining. He sees these visits as an important part of the relationships that he's built with countless customers over the years. Westbrook customers eagerly await the monthly postcards that are sent out that feature dining specials, discounts, and coupons. He tries to get the postcards out early and actually receives phone calls if they are not received early. Many people have come to depend on them. Michael says that these postcards definitely give the restaurants its greatest return, right? So he's making a personal connection with the individuals that are in the area, and that's definitely a reason for them to come back. Oh, I got just like people used to get the Sears catalog. You get that that connection with the brand, and you stick with it. The restaurant has a presence on Facebook, but that is geared towards a bar crowd, the younger crowd, right? So now we're talking about the restaurant, we're talking about selling fish, but now how do we get the younger people in? Typically, the food, or not the food, but the TV networks, they're always looking for that demographic. I think it's 18 to 25 for males, and they feel like once they get that demographic, they're good to go. So this is the same type of thing. They're gearing this and focusing it towards a younger crowd that would go visit the bar. Technology plays an important part, but a mixed part in the restaurant's operations. Michael said it's tough to run a restaurant these days without technology. tools like the point of service system, right? That you go and tap the buttons and everything. These systems include touchscreens for placing orders and paying for food items. It's interestingly enough, however, most of the food vendors still do business face to face or over the telephone, right? So although a lot of this can be done through technology, some sales paths still want to go through face to face. Choosing to stick with personal relationships. Only a few suppliers, such as liquor vendors, accept orders online. The current Westbrook Lobster website was created by Michael and Matthew using services from Intuit, right? So you guys all see commercials about them all the time for QuickBooks and things of the like. They built the site themselves and are proud to note that the restaurant gift cards can now be purchased directly from the site. It's a perfect example of Web 2.0 capabilities, right? So, you start off a business, things such as, branding, gift cards, and things of that nature is not at the top of the priority list, but things do eventually evolve. As far as running the business, currently 50 employees strong, Larry is brought in on the big decisions. Otherwise, Michael and Matthew run the restaurant on their own, right? So they're running the day to day. Bring him in. He's sort of like the board of directors, or sitting on the board of directors with his sons, and the other decisions, like they're going to make the day to day on their own. There are currently no other family members in the business, right? So him and the two sons. Westbrook Lobster continues to provide the freshest seafood available at competitive prices. The daily selection includes everything from locally harvested shellfish to fresh fish from the waters up and down the East Coast. They also offer several healthy options that are made without butter or breadcrumbs. These menu items are very popular and are especially attractive for people with food allergies or people who just want to eat a little bit lighter. All of their efforts continue to pay off. Westbrook Lobster was voted Best Seafood Restaurant statewide in Connecticut Magazine 2009 and Best Seafood in New Haven County in Connecticut in 2009 and 2010, so back-to-back years. Larry, Michael, and Matthew invite you to Westbrook Lobster when you're in the area. Once you're there, you are family, and it seems like they want to treat them that way. And so when we talk about family businesses, that unique part that you're going to see is that they're able to treat people like family, just like they work as a family unit. They want to treat those people that come in as family members, and when you treat them like that, they will come back. They will return to your place of business. So a few of the learning objectives for chapter 3. So explain what a family business is. That's something that'll be on the quiz. Understand the role that family businesses play in the U.S. economy, right? So just like small businesses, it's a huge part of the U.S. economy. And explain the advantages and disadvantages of family businesses. So I have some of those listed, why it's good to work with your family, why it's bad to work with your family, and then also have some things that come directly from their own words, right? So these are the things that they have to say about working with family members. So there is no agreed upon definition of family business, right? The percentage of ownership, the strategic control, the involvement of multiple generations, which is great, and the intention of the business to remain in the family are among the many criteria that experts use to distinguish family business from other types of businesses, right? Family business, in definition form, as a business that is actively owned and or managed by more than one member of the same family, right? So that makes it a family business. So we'll kind of get into the differences in family business. Like I could own a liquor store, right? And that could be, let's say Eddie's Liquor, right? So I could be Eddie, right? And I could own those and operate Eddie's Liquor with all of my family members and everything. Or I could be a huge company, right? Or let's take In-N-Out, for example, which is a family-owned business, right? Some people think like, oh, you can franchise, and it would be great to open a franchise of In-N-Out, and not a possibility because it's family-owned, right? So typically, they will not open up In-N-Out unless it's one of the family members moves somewhere else, and that's why you don't see them so prevalent on the East Coast and the Midwest, because that's not where their family members are. I believe they have family members in Vegas. They have family members, I believe, in Texas. But some of the places they're just not there, right? So when people come over to the West Coast, they love to get a In-N-Out burger. But I will tell you, from someone who's myself, I went to school in the Midwest. They love Steak and Shake, right? And I know there's a few Steak and Shakes out here. There's one in Santa Monica, one in Compton that I believe is no longer there. Then one out in probably I think Apple Valley, but they love Steak and Shake and they're all about it. But just like that, there's certain restaurants that are in other areas of the country that are not here in California, and some of that has to do with certain laws pertaining to waitresses, or waiters and waitresses, and most specifically that's Cracker Barrel and Waffle House, right? Those are not going to be here in California due to the way they get tipped out, I believe. Um, but family business owners know that their roles are different from the shareholders in companies owned by many public investors, right? So if your money's in it, yeah, that's great, and yeah, it's gonna pull at your heartstrings if it's your money, but it's nothing like your family being the ones that own the business, and how hard you take things to light in terms of anything that may be negative, and how proud you are for the things that are positive. Employees in family businesses know the difference that family control makes in their work lives and the company culture and their career, right? So, that can be tough if you're an outsider coming into a family-owned business. It can be difficult. I've been at companies where it's not a family-owned business, but there are multiple family members throughout the company, and they kind of sometimes end up having a stranglehold on the company in terms of what they're doing and doing things, that's just to their advantage. Marketers appreciate the advantages that the image of a family business presents to customers, right? It's always going to present that personal touch. And families know that being in business together is a powerful part of their lives, right? So although it's powerful and there's so many good things about it, there are also some bad things, just like anything. There's some pros, there's some cons. You want to make a decision about something, get you a sheet of paper, draw a line right down the middle, put pros, put cons, draw another line, and figure out which list or which side is longer. Um, so complicating the situation is that most data sources do not distinguish between small family businesses and the local pizza parlor or deli, right? Or, sorry, such as the local pizza parlor or deli, and large family businesses such as Walmart, Mars, and Ford, right? They don't distinguish between the two. The reality is that family based operations are represented across the full spectrum of American companies, from small business to large corporations. All right, so here's a few stats that may be helpful, maybe a little outdated, but very helpful. So family businesses account for a staggering 50% of the gross domestic product. Probably at this stage, it's probably going to be a little bit more than that. Although it may seem that the GDP contribution comes from thousands of small operations, 35% of the Fortune 500 companies are family companies. Like, so again, so you can't think of small company when you think of family company. If you think about the fact that 35% of the Fortune 500 companies are family companies. Family businesses account for 60% of U.S. employment and 78% of the new jobs created, right? So everybody may not go down the traditional path. And, it took me a while to realize that everybody doesn't want to, there are different paths and different routes to get to where you want to be. Uh, but I quickly realized that, when I was, started to be in the workforce. Family businesses represent one of the fastest growing sectors of the economy because their job requirements outpace their current employment rates when compared to other types of businesses, right? So, when you open up a business, right, it opens up opportunities for yourself and for others. But there are other opportunities that are out there, but those opportunities you have to go through interview process. If you don't know anybody, it can be tough, right? So small business and family owned business is a solid option for people coming right out of college. What this means is that family businesses continue to be a powerful economic force. So no matter what their size and no matter how they are defined, family firms are the most common form of business structure. They employ many millions of people, right? So not just a few people, many millions of people, and they generate a considerable amount of the world's wealth, right? So, for some people don't know all of the connections in terms of all these companies, but Sam Walton created Walmart, right? And Sam's Club, right? The first name, Sam's Club, right? That's, equivalent or going against Costco. And then over here, you have Walmart, named after Sam Walton. So it's interesting to see how some companies have done certain things and rebrand themselves as something different, and people never really they never really make the connection, which is great for them. Um, so here's some advantages and disadvantages of the family business. So one popular misconception about family businesses is that they are unable to adapt easily to increasing competition and technological progress. Well, not true. They are. They're very nimble, right? Because if it's just me and you, right? We're the only ones making the decision. We're only making the choices, and if something good happens and we want to, pivot and go that way, we can, right? Because it's just between me and yourself. The reality is that family businesses frequently have the advantage of entrepreneurial spirit, flexibility, and opportunism, right? So, like I said, they're nimble, they're flexible, they're able to jump around and do things that maybe a bigger corporation may drag their feet on. It's believed by some that family firms are what they say too soft and rarely reach their potential, right? And then some of that, there may be some truth to that, but there are plenty of small or plenty of family businesses that do reach great potential. The reality is that family businesses actually outperform public companies. Go figure. Oftentimes, the marketplace forces public companies to make short term decisions, whereas a family business has the advantage of having more freedom to make its decision, right? And that's a big thing. And that's why a lot of people that I know that continue to maybe work at smaller family businesses for a little bit of lower rate wage. They prefer that as opposed to getting a position like in the traditional sense in corporate America. So family businesses can adapt to market fluctuations more easily because then they can afford to be patient, right? You have to be patient. If it's your money, you're going to try and be as patient as possible and make the right and correct moves. They have common goals, shared values, and a commitment to brand building. So, family owned businesses are often seen as ideal because family members form a grounded and loyal foundation for the company, and family members tend to exhibit more dedication to their common goals, right? They're very collective in their approach. Having a certain level of intimacy among the owners of a business can help bring about familiarity with the company, and having family members around provides a built-in support system that should ensure teamwork and solidarity, right? So everybody should be on the same page if you're in the same family. Are they always on the same page? Absolutely not, right? Are you always on the same page with your family? Definitely not. Am I always on the same page with my family? 100% no, right? But they're saying that there's a bigger opportunity for that to happen when you are working in a family business. So why are family businesses so special, right? So I'll tell you a few reasons why. Family businesses are so common. How can they be so special, right? So they said, the love to work, right? They have it in Latin. So Leben und Arbeiten, right? So for most people, the two most important things in their lives are their families and their work, right? So those of you who don't like work, you can't even comprehend, someone thinking that way. But if you're fully invested, especially if it's a family company, then you are gonna have a lot of consideration when it comes to what you're doing at work. It's easy to understand the compelling power of organizations that combine both. Being in a family firm affects all of the participants, right? The role of the chairman of the board is different when the company was founded by your father and when your mother and siblings sit around the table at board meetings. For some of you guys are freaking out like you couldn't even imagine this taking place and working with your family like that. Just as they sat around the dinner table, the job of a CEO is different when the vice president is in the next office is also a younger sister. Like it's a lot. Well, I can't say it's a lot less of playing sides and going against each other because that can happen in a family business as well. The role of the partner is different when the other partner is a spouse or a child, right? It may have some impact on your decision making. The role of sales representative is different when you cover the same territory that your parent did 25 years ago and your grandparent did 50 years ago, right? So it's interesting when you think about it like that. So even walking through the door on your first day of work on an assembly line or in a billing office is different if the name above the door is yours, right? So first day, it doesn't seem so foreign because maybe you grew up in that company. Maybe you've always been around there, and it doesn't seem foreign or strange to you, right? So those are some of the advantages of family businesses. It's interesting because I was working for a copier company, right? And the VP of sales came out to everybody and kind of gave us some tips on what to do and everything. And he said, all right, I want you to make a list of all of your family and friends that own businesses. And then we're going to put down their name, we're going to put down their phone number, and then we're going to reach out to them and we're going to set appointments and we're going to sell them copiers, right? And so he said that to the room, and everybody kind of went out and got busy and diligent about what they were doing. And then my biggest ordeal was I had to go to him. I said, hey, I don't know anybody who owns a business, and I definitely don't know anybody who owns a business, big enough that they would need, a copier of this size or magnitude. So it's interesting when I told him that, he was kind of taken aback, and it's interesting. He told me, hey, well, you're just gonna have to go out there and knock on some doors and do more cold calling than everybody else, because everybody else is gonna have these advantages where they are going to be able to connect with people that have the resources to purchase what you have, right? And he used to make it sound so simple. He said, "Hey, you're make it dumb it down a little bit." He said, "Look, you're selling a box for between $10,000 and $25,000, right? So you're gonna have to get pretty clever in your sales approach, right?" So family closeness. Oh, so here's some disadvantages of family businesses. I'm sure you guys all throughout the lecture and probably reading throughout the chapter have said, yeah, I never want to work with my family. But tell you about the pros, let me tell you about the cons. So here are some of the disadvantages. Family businesses tend to be stable organizations. Although this is a good thing, in many instances, stability can make it difficult for change, right? Hey, it's not broke, don't fix it. A new younger family member coming into the business will find tradition and structure, and changing that is not simple, right? If we did this one thing all the time, it's going to be tough for me to come in and change it from all of my family members, especially if those people who ran the business were your parents. Family closeness can lead to sibling rivalry or problems when both the parent and the child want control. By the third or fourth generation, with many cousins possibly sharing ownership, governance can become very complicated. So, yeah, that can be tough. When you're so close to your family, and they're your rival, work rival, and it can become problematic. When one person feels like they're good to go and they should be in control, and the other person wants to keep the iron fist hold on to it and keep making all the decisions. So it can become a very complicated, clouded situation. There may be times when the interests of a family member conflict with the interests of the business. One family member may want to expand the business, but other family members may not share this person's desire. The needs of the business are not in sync with the needs of the family, right? And that's what I think I mentioned in the class, Tony's Little Italy, and they make the best deep dish pizza, right? But it's only one. And if you ate that, you would think like, why are there not so many more of these Tony's Little Italy? But the issue is that they don't want to dilute their product. They're like, hey, if I can't send my son right to run this restaurant, then I'm not going to open it, right? So you have to know and understand that there are decisions that have to be made, and some can have negative consequences, right? One son may want to expand the business, and the other son may not have the desire. One son may want to keep it to just one location, right? So nevertheless, I've seen that with this place called George's Greek Cafe. Father was in Long Beach, son was over in Lakewood. There are all kind of different things that we see in our everyday life that maybe we don't see through this lens, but it is through the same lens. But here's the thing, as they say, here's the rub. Not all children of owners and managers want to join the business, right? Some people just, I don't want to do it. And here's some of the reasons. They say, my parents would not want me to join, right? That's how they felt. or that's the impression that they get. I could not work for my parents. Very understandable, because and that's the thing I always liken it to, and I tell people all the time. So I've my kids are in track, and train them sometime and everything. But that's if you're that same voice that's telling people to pick up your socks in your room, and your same person to tell them to do something athletically, it may not work out. If you hear that same voice, they can end up tuning it out. There are already too many family members in the business, and if that's number three, then is connected to number two, which is I don't want to work for my parents. I'm not interested in this particular business, right? If it's just not something that you wanted to do, company makes concrete, you're like, hey, that's very boring. I don't want to go in with them. The business is too small for me. Maybe you're just so talented and so much bigger that it's too small for you, and that's okay, right? You have to come to some self realizations. The business would not allow me to utilize my talents. Well, if you go to another company that's not a family business, it's quite possible that they won't allow you to utilize your talents either. And that's just a tough one, but that's realistic, and that's honest on how things would go. So here's some things in their own words as we kind of round things off with this lecture. Like I said, I'll try not to keep it over 30 minutes. So why some children of owner slash managers do not want to join the business, right? So attitudes of owners, managers, children towards family and businesses, right? So like how do they truly feel? And these are their exact quotes. So this is how they feel. And some of you guys may already be in that situation, or you may feel that way and say, this is why I won't, right? So I see the pressure my dad is under. This does put me off slightly. I want to enjoy my job as well as enjoying life outside of work. So this person is looking for a better work-life balance, and because they are doing so, they're thinking about the fact that they shouldn't work at the company like their father. A larger factor when working under a relative is a problem of self-worth. It is hard to feel like you're worth something when your father is an MD. And I've seen people like this all the time, right? Father's a surgeon, father's a doctor, and then it's like, well, what am I supposed to do? They say when you grow up, be a doctor, be a lawyer, and now if the father he's running his own practice, but you have to learn, right? You have to take the time to learn and understand what they're saying and why they're doing certain things. Business relationship with your father makes your family relationship harder. So, like I said, about tuning things out because it's the same voice that's telling you to clean up your room, right? And hopefully, by the time that you'll be able to partake and work in the family business, you wouldn't be living with them anymore. I do not look to go into the family business straight away. As we would say right away, straight away. That's probably somebody from England. As I feel this is giving a commitment to work, there for the rest of my life, right? So you see people like that all the time. It's like, hey, this is where I'm, born my professional career, and this is where it ends. Right, same place. I would join only because I'm genuinely qualified, not because I'm the owner's daughter, right? Well, regardless of what you do, if you're the owner's daughter, right, you're gonna feel and hear some backlash about things, and that's okay. That's part of it. People in that situation, their parents should have, already told them exactly how those things can go. The difference in my father's education and mine is a factor affecting why I have decided not to go into the business. I have more choices over what I can do in a career, and my personal interests would not be met by my father's company. I'm sure it would not have been his choice had he had the same educational choices as me, and that's true. That's so true. I had a friend, and she's older than me, and she retired from an insurance company, and then she went to the insurance company that I was at, and she kept working. Right, she had great work ethic, but she retired from one and went over to the other one. But she told me, she said, hey, the reason why I'm in this career goes way back to when I was in the Philippines. And she told me how she was a great artist, could draw, could do everything. And she said that her parents forced her and said, no, you have to be a nurse, right? And some of those things can be cultural. I see them a lot. I have a lot of friends that are, Filipino and Nigerian. And and if you kind of pay attention and look, and you look at like nursing or home health aides and things of that nature, you will see a larger population of Filipinos and Nigerians in those particular positions, right? Great opportunity, great job. Like I tell people all the time, was a nurse, right, and a mechanic. They're recession proof, right? Doesn't matter if it's a recession. Doesn't matter if it's a pandemic. If your car breaks down, you need a mechanic, right? If you get sick, you need a nurse, right? They're things that are resistant to the pandemic. They're things that are resistant to, the recession, right? When those things happen. So, great professions. Not necessarily one that's probably in your path if you're in this business class, but nevertheless, it's still super solid, right? Um, as much as a route into the family business is a route into the family business is seen by outsiders as an easy route to wealth and inheritance. In my case, it was also a liability. At 17, was I to be the fourth generation after 100 years that could not keep the company going? Right? Is it my fault if everything falls apart? And that's one of the things that people really they say, hey, you know what? I don't want to be the one that's the end of this. I'll just take my hands off and I'm not going to do it. A couple things that I won't touch on, that I was planning to, but we are past the 30-minute mark. But just, risk, I want you to make sure that you read the whole chapter because it's a very interesting read. But you check out and you think about the risk of bad communications. First, know and understand what communication is, right? And then figure out what the risk of bad communication is. And there are a lot of risks that are out there due to that, the people not communicating the right way, right? And there are many reasons why people don't communicate the right way, but there are always solutions for them as well. But on the positive side of things, there are advantages that can be seen, are identified for hiring family members, right? There are some good reasons, right? So improve customer relations through family contact is one. Intergenerational continuity, right? Because your father worked, grandfather worked, father worked, you worked. It is great. Long-term stability, shared values, loyalty and commitment, inherent trust, willingness to sacrifice for the business, as you know you would all of your family members do, and emotional attachment to the business, more willing to contribute to its sources and share the same culture, right? So I want you to, on your own, kind of look through the text, read chapter 3. Like I said, that to me, it's just a, pretty smooth read. The cons of, being that family business is there's always going to be the possibility of managerial incompetence, right? Somebody in that family is not too bright, right? It's got to be one. It may not be possible to separate family and work, and that's the tough thing. Like, how do you separate? Like in my instance, your dad yelling at you about cleaning your room versus your dad yelling at you about how you should run a certain way. So and being cognizant of time, we'll go over. We'll probably stop it right there. I want you to make sure that when you're looking at your text for chapter 3, I want you to make sure that you look at that grid for those sleepless nights. It kind of talks about the reasons why people think having those family businesses is tough, right? And like the main one that's on there is they can never get away from work, right? It's hard to get away from work because you're talking about during the holidays. You're talking about somebody comes over. You're always going to be talking about it, and that's understandable. But that is more close to, I would say, how things are with my profession, like with my day job, is that you're always attached. You have alerts on your phone and you're checking your phone. It's like, oh, I got to respond to this real quick. So, anywhere I go, typically I do have my, my backpack with my laptop and my hotspot in there so that I can take care of things kind of on the fly as well. So make sure that you read the chapter, that obviously if you got this far, you watch the lecture. Make sure that you watch the 3 supplemental videos and make sure that you complete your discussion, right? So you'll have a discussion that you need to complete and then make some posts to some comments to at least a couple of your classmates and then generate that conversation. It's always good to hear and know what other people are thinking, especially in a class such as this. It may be very beneficial to you in the future. Well, that's it for chapter 3. Like I said, make sure that you read the textbook for chapter 3, watch the lecture, watch the 3 supplemental videos, and take your quiz, and you'll be all good to go. So once again, it's great to see, great to speak with you guys from the other side. Chapter 3, and we're moving right along. And hopefully you all have a good day and a great week. Thank you.